Hey everyone, I am TheChosenOneLegend here, as always joined by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Kai, also known as Fascurreyn.
And welcome back to the BunchaJokahs podcast, where we talk Nintendo news and other gaming highlights from the past month. And it's been a weird one. First off, first September in like a decade or something without a Nintendo Direct. So, they're cooking, they're definitely cooking. But we've got some other things in the meantime, and been playing some interesting games, I think. I mean, it varies from Monolithsoft to Minecraft. This is a varied month, to say the least, so...
Yeah. There's a lot to cover, a lot of random things, We're still in this awkward period that we've been in for a year at this point, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Where we're there's just a bunch of random things scattered about, we don't really know what to make of it, so it's just there. It's fine.
And it does give us some interesting things to cover, so we'll get started on our first segment of the podcast. Can't have a podcast without news, baby, where we go over said news highlights, and I'm not sure if you can call this one a highlight, but let's discuss it. The Minecraft movie got its first trailer. It feels like a lifetime ago now, and it also feels like some weird trip I had, not an actual real thing they released. What are your thoughts, Kai? Just what are your thoughts?
As a Minecraft player, someone who has spent a lot of time in Minecraft in the past, yeah, it's not good. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off. It's really not good. I mean, it looks poor. It's gone for the big Hollywood style again, but it doesn't resemble Minecraft at all. I really don't like the sheep design where it's got this certain style that's just really frustrating. It's irritating.
Creepy.
Again, all the actors are just kind of lost and yeah. I mean, Jack Black as Steve is a lot of people don't like it. I think it could have worked, but it's just not.
Yeah.
I mean, Jack Black's great, but maybe not his best role.
It's weird because they're clearly going for something very generic, like a Jumanji kind of thing is the main comparison people have got with the sense of humour and that, and having Jack Black in it again as this sort of quirky character. All the steps are there to make a film that's, okay, pretty simple and generic as far as kids' family movies go, but could be a good recipe. But it just is off. I can't even describe everything about it. It's the humour, just none of the jokes were really funny, none of the acting felt quite right. The characters look like they're on a green screen, which of course they would be, but it looks so uncanny valley and unnatural. The mishmash of the balance of it all. It's just like you say. It just looks poor, which is a shame for obviously one of the biggest gaming properties out there. And even as someone who's not a Minecraft fan, I'm not suffering the bitter disappointment of seeing my childhood ruined that some people are saying. But it just looks bad, and it's people apparently I've seen loads of comments like I'm now apologising to Minecraft story mode and stuff. People are changing their tune now with how bad this one looks. So it's a shame.
Yeah, I think one of the big issues with it is it's not it doesn't feel like a Minecraft movie, and we're not expecting a bunch of deep cut references or anything.
No.
But, it seems like the director literally was like, oh, it's a game where the world is blocks, and, that's all they know. That is literally the only thing they've ever heard of about Minecraft. So they're literally like, okay, let's make a story where people go into a world that is blocky, and, that's it. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
And we're not expecting fireworks, but it would have been nice to have just a little bit more depth than that, or a little bit more, accuracy. Yeah, it's a difficult one. And I just don't feel like the plot's going to be anything past the standard Hollywood whatever. So it really is a bit of a shame, but, I guess we should have expected it.
Yeah, even, the Sonic movie, which is criticised for not being, the original one specifically, for being, not too close to the source material, just feeling like a generic movie. At the very least, that film it got Sonic right, and Sonic himself was fun and a good personality. But that's not even something they can really do here, given Steve isn't really a character as far as I'm aware. So it's just, it just feels like a generic family film you see every year, except Minecraft labelled over the top of it, and it looks even worse. So
Yeah.
You know, nothing. You can never be sure. Maybe it could be better than it looks. There might be some good moments in it. I'm probably not going to see it, to be honest with you. But I think it's just given. If this was like 10 years ago, this would actually be like an accomplishment. But since in the last few years we've got so many good video game adaptations, The Last of Us, Mario, Sonic, all sorts, you can't get away with this kind of thing anymore. And that's why it's been disliked to hell. But
yeah. It's lazy. It's incredibly lazy,
yes.
Which is disappointing. Yeah, it's not good. I mean, what it makes me appreciate actually is after this trailer came out, I went back and I rewatched an entire playthrough of Minecraft Story Mode, which must have released. I don't know. That was not 10 years ago, right? It can't have been. I'm going to check that. Yeah, probably, but it sort of made me think of that because we do have. Oh god, it was almost 10 years ago. It was 9. 9 at the time this goes out, basically. That was a Minecraft story. Not a movie, but obviously Telltale Games are kind of half movies in the first place. And, obviously that series got a lot of flack, especially when it came out, for just having a lot of poor writing. Generally it didn't entirely live up to people's expectations. But from the very first time I saw it, and on the rewatch, both times I thought, you know what? The writing is kind of bad. The jokes are kind of bad. But I think they got the core of it really, really well. Like, they did it right. The whole thing of that being like, okay, no, it's Minecraft people in a Minecraft world already. It's not an isekai, because I know that Hollywood loves doing those for some reason. It's like, they're in this world, they're given a plot, they take a lot of things from Minecraft that are like really good references. There's some of the jokes, like the F-bomb being the way to destroy the big evil enemy is brilliant. And just, how it derives from that, and it's like, okay, we actually know the source material, let's make something from it. Even if the writing was poor, the premise was really, really good. And to be honest, like, I think even if they followed something similar to that, and just tweaked some bits, like, I think I'd be happy. I think there's a really good format there. Better yet, just go off the Fallen Kingdom, what is that, quadrilogy? I think it's a quadrilogy. Just do that, to be honest, There's some great source material there, so just go off of that rather than, Block World, Steve. It's like, come on, man. I feel like there's so much good stuff they could have gotten inspiration from, and they didn't take any of it.
Yeah, and you know what? I think we've covered it about now, but let's move on to our next, what the heck news story of the month, which is the PlayStation 5 Pro reveal. You've got a spare 700 quid, right, Kai? Just lying around for a Pro model.
Didn't even look at the announcement. I've not looked at anything to do with it because it is so I've seen the description of it's just like a ton of money for nothing extra. It's like, okay, I'm just not bothered.
It's kind of insane. And watching the thing where they throw all these buzzwords out, they show loads of comparisons which generally don't look very different. And granted, I've not got an eye for this. This never would have been for me anyway, but even the kind of people who ate up the PS4 Pro, a lot of them are watching this and like, what is the difference here? It's basically just you can have performance mode and, visual mode at the same time, which is nice, but 700 quid nice? No. And it's not even a case of is it worth the upgrade? Is it worth buying as a newcomer to the PlayStation series? If I've not upgraded to an OLED, but if my Switch broke, outside of the upcoming Switch 2 probably, I would go out and buy an OLED because it's not too much more and it is noticeably better. It's I would recommend people to get the better model. This one, if my PS5 broke, I would just get a new PS5 again. I'm not spending another half of the price for this minuscule of an upgrade. Technology's not advancing like it once was. It's diminishing returns. And if someone is new getting a PS5, I'd say just get the base one, don't get the Pro. There's such a niche level of audience for this, where even if you're going to want that much tech, you might as well put in a little bit more investment and get a PC at that point. So, who is this for is really the thing. And
it's a good question.
Not many people.
Yeah, I just don't see the point of it. Like, it's exactly like you say, who is this for? It's ridiculously expensive. It doesn't do anything new. Even if you don't have the console currently, you would still not get this version. It's not worth the extra money. I really don't get it. I wonder if they were just like, this is easy to make, so let's just like make it and see who falls for it. It almost feels like they're just trying to make a quick buck because someone will go out and buy this. But yeah, I don't know. It's a really weird business decision. Really, really strange.
Yeah, I can't see it doing too well in the long run. And maybe they're making a niche amount for the niche people who are full on tech heavy, have to get the newest one, the newest iPhone, that kind of thing. Maybe this will do for them, and if so, sure, it is an upgrade. But in the long term, it just goes to show, what's the PS6 going to be at this point? Is that going to be 800 quid? If so, am I going to want to buy it? And we're getting to that point where, Nintendo are the ones who've really got it down with keeping things relatively affordable and not focusing on having the best visuals. This is showing how it's paid off. Because this comes out and everyone's like, meh. And the Switch 2's gonna come out and it's gonna be probably a marginal upgrade from the Switch. Maybe it might even be that much. But because it's got such a lower baseline, they have plenty of room to go up. And people are going to freak out about it more. So, chasing tech has really shown that it's got diminishing returns in the long game here. And who knows how well this will do, but I think we're going to start to see that. And it might affect where we go with the next PlayStation console in general, depending on how well this sells. But, not for me, that's for sure.
No, I wonder if they just made it to fill the pattern. So they're like, okay, we got a PS4, PS4 Pro, PS5, PS5 Pro. I think they're just doing it because they're like, we've filled the quota, we've done it now. I think they're probably not, surely they saw this coming, right? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be left in the dust really quickly.
You'd like to think they know what they're doing, but this is the company that released that Concord game and then took it off the shelves in 2 weeks completely because it was a big commercial flop. So I'm not sure we can fully trust Sony. But speaking on that, let's move on to a bit more Sony. We got a load of showcases. The first of which I'm just going to gloss over. Did you watch the State of Play, Kai? At all?
Wait, was there a State of Play? I've been so, for people listening, I've been so busy the last month, I have no idea what's happened, so most of this is going to be new to me.
I'm basically just going to gloss over. They announced a new Ghost of Tsushima sequel game. Ghost of something, I can't remember the name.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Cool. Oh, that looks cool, yeah.
It does look good. I need to play the first one, so I don't have anything to say about it. But that's cool. And in general, it was a pretty well-paced presentation, just nothing much for us as, more Nintendo-focused fans. There wasn't anything that would speak to us. I just thought I should mention it happened and it was okay. But
that's a good thing to mention, actually, though. The new, Ghost of Tsushima sequel, that's kind of huge, right?
Yeah, it looked good. It's got a new protagonist and it seems to be following a new story. I again haven't played the first one, so I have no clue how that connects or doesn't. But by all accounts, people loved the first game, so a sequel to that is big. So on my list,
we'll need to get around to it at some point. I'm in the same situation.
What we both did watch that day, though, or at least watch later of this day, was the Level 5 showcase. Where just more delays because that's what they do. But things looked good, and I guess we'll start off with Layton. What did you think of the new World of Steam? What they showed off?
I've got high hopes. They talked about various important things. They showed off the music, which was good. Really enjoyed the music, but then the fact they were like, look, we know that the puzzles in the last game were bad. They've got in a dedicated puzzle team who are known for being good at what they do, so that does fill me with hope. That looks good, the music's good, the visuals all look good.
Oh, the remix of the main theme, yes.
Oh, yes, it's amazing. There's only one thing I'm a little worried about, though I do think this worry will be taken away as soon as I play it. And that is that the premise of the game looks almost identical to the last Spectre.
Yeah?
And that sort of a mix
Gunman
of Last Spectre
Joe
and Miracle Mask, yeah.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, that does worry me of like, is it going to be basically the same thing? And like, I really hope that they do something different, and I'm sure they will, but off the bat, the premise is exactly the same, so I really do hope they show some variation in that.
Yeah, visually what we're seeing is great because, Layton had an awkward transition to 3D with the 3DS. Like, the games are good, but everything looks kind of off in those games. It's not quite very natural, but this looks like they've nailed it more. The aesthetics of like the town around you look beautiful, and it's going to be a batshit crazy story no matter what, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it one way or the other. But it looks really promising all around. I'm just still shocked that it's back. I never thought we'd see it back. So seeing it look like this, I am optimistic at the very least.
Yeah, same.
So,
I think it's going to be a good game regardless of anything else. It's an interesting one because this is such a straightforward. Yeah, we're just going to get it, play it, and enjoy it. Like we don't even need to be too concerned. It's such a simple one, and it's nice to have that. And
there are certainly some truly vaguely shaped people in this trailer. So we are back at level 5 peak. But speaking of level 5 peak, I'm going to let you take the next series, Kai. Just do your thing.
Alright, here we go. Megaton Musashi.
We're ready for it.
Oh, no, I literally skipped that part. Level 5 did the Inazuma 11 Victory Great Road of Heroes and Special Things, because I keep forgetting the official name.
And Knuckles.
And Knuckles 3. So they showed off a new trailer. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what they announced. It was a bunch of just like random different things.
The town builder?
The town builder was the first thing I wanted to bring up. That's such a weird thing. Like, of all things to add in the game, they were like, oh, you know what people really want? It's a town builder. So you can just like build things, you can get things like the clubhouse from the original game and the tower, maybe the wall and the hand, who knows. And you can just and you can just build a town and then like invite people to it and like play mini games and stuff maybe and invite your favorite characters. You get to make an avatar specifically for this mode, perhaps. I don't know if you get to use it outside of this. It would be cool to have, like, just a custom character builder that you can use for the main game, where you can choose what their stat distributions are and movesets. I mean, it feels... It's very... It's possible. They've literally got a character creator, so it's definitely possible. So maybe they're holding on to that, I'm not really sure. But I would love to make a team of random people. That's some cool additions. Town Builder is incredibly random. Outside of that, they showed off some more story cutscene bits, though not too much. They announced a thing that they'd already kind of mentioned, which is like a manager mode, where you can basically tell the team approximately how to play, and then it plays for you, which is a staple in any modern football game, where it plays for you and you give directions as a manager, so I think that's a really good addition. Especially if you sort of struggle with some of the gameplay, and I think this is a cool way of doing it. I'm sure there'll be some challenge modes and stuff, like challenge modes that people set themselves for this. That's a really cool addition. We also had like skill trees for characters. I guess there's skill trees now. They're always fun.
Gotta have them.
That's fine, I guess. And also like link trees in terms of recruiting characters by the looks of it, who are related to each other in the main story. And then it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting.
I feel like they're doing so many different things to it. Like, there are so many different modes, different gameplay elements, and on the one hand it's kind of cool. I do have a bit of a concern of, does this mean that a load of them are going to end up half-baked? Are they overstretching themselves, basically?
That's a fair point.
Are they being too ambitious? And even, what we played of the beta earlier this year was like, it was cool and interesting, but it was very unbalanced with like doing so much of this weird little mini game as opposed to actually playing football. And I'm wondering is the whole game going to be that unbalanced? But at the same time, what we did play was fun. So I'm optimistic that even if like there are some modes in this game that I don't touch, there's going to be one that does really appeal to me. Or it just seems like it's going to be a fun time no matter what. So I'm still optimistic, and it's coming out June next year. You know, we have a release period that they hopefully stick with this time. I'm not optimistic.
Delayed, let's be honest.
Yeah,
we know it will.
We've been getting delays from everything level 5 from the past like 2 years, but it's one day. You know, hopefully it will come out this time, and it does look good. Like I want to get this, so they're doing something right, clearly.
Yeah, they are, and I mean, what I'm guessing is happening, and I could be completely wrong, is I'm almost wondering if there's a certain aspect of the game, likely the core gameplay of the matches, that they are taking a really long time to work on. And there's probably, like, they're just working on that, and they're like, we've got to keep delaying, and then the rest of the team who's already done their job is like, I guess we'll make a town builder mode. You know, I almost wonder if they're literally just making new things because those people have already done their job and they're just giving themselves more to do because they're like, oh, we might as well in the meantime. Maybe not true, but that's all I thought. And the only other thing is, right at the very end of it, they announced like some sort of antagonist called Alice Rendell is the English name. Who has like a creepy puppet rabbit hand thing. Yeah, so
that was a
that'll
choice.
Play into the plot somehow. I have no idea what's going to happen there, but yeah, that's basically it for now. It's looking really good though. I'm glad they're giving it all the support still.
Yeah, still looking solid, and that wasn't the only Inazuma 11 news we got either, because have a remake of the first game coming out 2026, I think it was. Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Like, yeah, that's kind of neat. Like, I never got to play the first game. I've never seen it like in a second-hand store, so getting the chance to maybe try it out for once, it would be neat. And I think it does look a little bit cheap. Like the sort of the chibi style to it looks a bit. You know, what's the you know that Pokemon game, Diamond and Pearl remakes? It kind of gives me that vibe of it.
Oh yeah.
Where it's chibi done cheap. When it can look great in, you know, the new Zelda game, for example, you know, it can look good, but this does look a bit basic. But it still looks like it works, and the character portraits and that element of it really brings it to life, the characters, in a way that I appreciate. I wonder if it's going to have, like, the English voice cast back from the games. If they're going to have new cast, I wonder.
Yeah, especially for English, actually.
Yeah, that's the main thing I'm thinking here, is like what route, and you could apply this to Victory Road as well, which route are they going to go for voice acting? If it even gets English voice acting, which it could not.
It might not.
But
realistically, I think they'll bring in some new ones, because who knows where the old ones are nowadays. Like, we know where Adam Howden is, and that's about it, and that he's not even in the first game as a voice actor, to my knowledge.
Hey, if they're getting Luke's voice actor back to play for Layton, you know, that's double whammy.
Oh, you know what? Actually, that's a good point. Yeah, so...
Yeah.
It's an interesting idea. I mean, I'm hugely in favour of a remake, of course. I think it's a brilliant idea to do. I do wonder what they're going to do to like upgrade the gameplay of the game, because obviously the first one is the most bare bones.
Yeah.
And we've seen some of the gameplay is that the actual football matches are completely different. It's a whole new gameplay style. I would imagine they play tested this for the new one and thought it could work, but not for this. So that's why they've moved it here. But like, rather than the normal,
that makes sense.
Yeah, rather than the normal touchpad of like move your characters and tap to kick the ball, you have like a cursor across the map, and then you can activate run, pass, shoot, or defend mode. It's a very weird system, and I think it's going to take a lot of getting used to, but you know what, they have to on the Switch because of no touch screen, so, you know, sure, I'm curious to see how it goes, and I also really like the sort of the live 2D sprites that they have going on for the characters now. I think that's fun. So, you know, it's like, hey, I'll absolutely take it. And then they topped that announcement off with saying, oh yeah, there's like 2 movies coming out at the end of the year. So that's fun as well. You know, we've got tons of content on the way.
yeah, they're bringing it back, so hopefully it will turn out well for Inazuma 11 and it'll get its full-on resurgence. But
Mhm.
now, is there any... do you want to mention anything else in the presentation? I mean, Deca Police looked kind of neat, but I don't really have much to say about it myself. Don't
Yeah,
know
no,
about you,
Deca
Kai.
Police was whatever, the other stuff was whatever. I do need to mention the new Yokai Watch thing.
Oh, yeah.
Where, they're like, oh, new Yokai Watch concept. It's a kid who has, like, a ghost. And that ghost is the pen pineapple apple pen guy. For some reason. He's in this game as a mascot. And as well as like K-pop groups, I guess. I don't know who they are. And it's like a dance game, kind of. I don't get it. It's really confusing, but I just think pen, pineapple, apple, pen, it's funny.
I still think that last bit is just like a group ride hallucination we all had. I don't think it's an actual game. But it was indeed in the presentation, so...
Yeah, so...
What a way to end it.
We'll see, it was a funny one.
And that's mostly it. I mean... Okay, one more thing I have to announce, actually, Kai.
Why are you direct?
It's nothing, because there was a Sonic presentation that was absolute shit. That was just merchandise. And the reason I said that was because it ended... I just have to rant about this for a second, because I watched it all like a sucker. It ended where they... it looked like it was done, and it was just like talking about the upcoming games and merchandise and whatever. Boring,
Right.
didn't need a presentation. But then they're like, oh, but one last thing. So, okay, they're gonna, maybe it's a new game, maybe it's a Sonic Heroes remake. It's gotta be exciting, one last thing. The guy from the Sonic movie comes out, it's like, oh, okay, it's a new trailer for Sonic 3. Sure, that's kind of cool. It was just reminding you the movie came out, there was no new trailer. I've never, in all the presentations I've seen, I've never seen a one more thing done with actually zero new information. Like, I've seen disappointing new information, but why would you hype people up with a one more thing to actually not have one more thing? Why? It was insanity. I don't know what they were thinking. I just couldn't not mention it.
That's brilliant. That is such a funny... I think they probably just don't know how a direct works, and they're like, oh, we have to say one more thing, and then the thing we want to talk about.
Yeah, like...
They're like, what do we want to talk about?
I wonder if there was meant to be a trailer, there was meant to be a new trailer for Sonic 3, but Hollywood stuff, whatever, it got delayed. So they just kept that end bit and just added like a... It was literally like a hype reel of the previous two movies and the stuff we'd already seen in the trailer. But I don't know, it was insanity. It made me actually mad. But anyway, last little thing to touch on as a nice positive to end all this. Monolithsoft 25th anniversary gave us a lovely little video celebrating Xenoblade history, except Xenogears because they can't get that one. But that was delightful, wasn't it?
Oh, it was brilliant. It was a really nice thing to see, and honestly, I didn't even realise that was the anniversary. So it completely blindsided me. But yeah, the video was really nice because I thought it was like a, it sort of had like, whatever it is, the views of all the different games happening. And then when it cut to the Xenoblade 3 stuff, I sort of thought, oh, that's nice. They're using one of the cutscenes from the game and editing it. No, it was like a whole new thing to like bring all the characters in, and I was like, oh, that's really cute. Give us warriors.
Now, I was going to say, yeah, is it teasing? Yeah, you never. No, probably not. But
yeah, so it was fun. It was really good.
It was, and I mean, it's about time for Monolithsoft to announce their next project, whatever it is, And I seriously think whenever we get a Nintendo Switch 2 or Nintendo Switch successor presentation, that will be one of the first games they show off, like a Monolithsoft game coming in the launch year. I feel like it's a given at this point. So I'm just hyped to see whatever it is. They've done good work, clearly. But
no, I agree. It's looking really good.
That was a nice positive to end this month of weird oddities on. But that is it for our first segment, so let's move on to our final segment of the podcast, Games Time Baby, where we talk about games we've been playing, and I'm going to start things off here with a quick small one, which I want to briefly mention, is I played Portal for the first time. I've seen bits of it over the years, but I sort of needed a quick game to play before Zelda, and Impulse bought it for like £4, and it's good. Like, no surprises. After all these years, Portal is a good game. It's hardly the hot take of the internet, but it's funny. It was satisfying trying to figure out the puzzles. It generally like really makes you think. It's I play a lot of puzzle games, but I still felt like a moron at several points. But when you do figure it, it's, you know, the way it plays with physics, I think, is the most impressive part of it. You know, the momentum of things moving between the portals and that is never not satisfying to pull off. I don't think I can really say much more because people have been talking about why Portal is a good game for over 10 years at this point, or whatever it's been. But yeah, it was fun, like, to just play for the first time. It's just a short experience, and I know Portal 2 is meant to be, like, even better. My only thing I want to mention is I did have the tragic moment, the most upsetting moment in a video game recently, where I was bringing one of those boxes along with me, and it got stuck in a portal in the door, and then fell off into acid and burned. It wasn't even the companion cube, it was just like your general generic cube. But I was dead set on bringing it with me, and I stared at the screen for a solid like minute after that, like, what just happened? But I have the clip of it. I'll play the clip in the podcast if you're on the YouTube version, because I did save
brilliant.
that. But other than that, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Have you played Portal, Kai? You've probably
No, I've never
it.
played it. I've got very little knowledge on the series, actually.
Yeah, it's just fun puzzle game. You know, it's accessible. It's got good writing and neat little experience if you need something brief to play. But what have you been playing, Kai? What's your? I mean, I know what you've been playing, but give us the scoop.
I've only got the one for now because it's such a hefty game and you know, busyness. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. You know, it was about time I got around to it. I said I would get around to it either summer or winter of this year, and I guess somewhere in the middle works. I was like, yeah, you know what, I've started that after finishing the first run of Three Hopes. Let's give it a try. You know, I have played Remake and really enjoyed that. And Rebirth, like, I'm about 7 chapters in. I don't know how far through the game that is, but I think I'm maybe a bit under halfway. And I've got to say, like, from a more objective standpoint, you know, as someone who doesn't actually care much for the Final Fantasy series, it might just be like one of the best, maybe the best RPG of all time. Like, is that a crazy thing to say? Because I'm kind of playing through it right now. Maybe it's recency bias, but I'm kind of looking at this thinking, you know, I like Final Fantasy VII, but I don't care for the series, and I don't particularly love Final Fantasy VII. But I'm playing through it, and I'm like, man, this game just does so many like fun and interesting things. The gameplay is solid. It's got everything. Like, it might just be like one of the best, you know.
It's a fair assessment.
It's been really enjoyable. Yeah. So, it's just been really fun. You know, I've been going through 100%ing it. You know, music's great, visuals are great, the story's really enjoyable so far. You know, the characters are all good. So all of that's just been an absolute blast up to this point. And you know, obviously they have the card game in there, Queen's Blood, and as someone who likes random little card game side modes, I'm all over it. You know, every time they bring it up in the story, I'm like, oh, that's me. That's my thing.
And they bring it up a lot.
Very fun. They do, and I'm honestly, I can imagine already that some people have gotten really upset with that in terms of like, oh, why are they bringing this card game into the main story? But hey, I love it, so I'm totally in favour.
I don't care for card games, and I was all on board, so they got me. They made it work.
Yeah, so it's probably the same people who complain about Torna needing to complete like side quests to get to the end of the game, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. The only issue I have, and this is a bit of an external one, is across the course of the game so far, I think it's crashed like 10 times. It's been really bad with crashing. Really? And the autosaves have not been common. I don't know if it's just my PS5 needing a cache reset or something. But the last time I played, for example, in the course of about maybe an hour and a half, it crashed like 4 times, and I made almost no progress because it was a story part, right, that it kept crashing on, like and it wasn't consistently the same part of the story. It was like random parts, either during a cutscene or during a fight or during a movement bit or whatever, like completely random parts every time. It kept crashing. And I was like, man, I get it if I forget to save, but I can't even save and it's not auto-saving. So I lost, like, I was sitting there playing for 90 minutes, making no progress because it kept crashing on me. And it's just been really common now. It's been getting increasingly worse as I go through, and I'm like, man, if it just stops crashing, this would be an 11 out of 10 game,
Yeah, I don't remember having that problem. So maybe it is your PS5, or maybe I just got lucky. Also, it's been like several months, I might have forgotten. But that definitely can bring down an experience, so that is a shame. But,
yeah, it's tough. I'm getting to the point where it's like every hour it'll crash, so I've just got to keep saving really often. So
yeah,
it's a little annoying.
Yeah,
but,
it's good.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm glad to see you enjoying it outside of that. Like, all the foundations and everything about it, it is just like the gameplay loop of like exploring the areas and doing the quests and like finding all the different parts of the map. It's just like, it's so smooth to play through, and it just, you get lost in it. I will be interested to see your final thoughts, because if you remember mine, I was loving the game at the start. By the end, I think there's certain elements that you burn out on. I think parts of both gameplay and story overstay their welcome, and it left me more mixed by the ending. But also, I know other people who didn't have that problem at all. So I'll be interested to see where you feel having beaten the game, and if you find a similar experience, or if you just love it the entire way through. But even with my problems I had, it's still like a great game and a contender for my favourite game I played this year. It's up there. So it's a fun one. They cooked.
That's all I'm thinking is, like, I'm curious about the ending because I'm completely blind on all that. Whereas the remake, I did know what was going to happen. But I think, hopefully the crash thing will get resolved. We'll see with the ending, and so far it's just like, I don't know, man, everything about it just seems unmatched in terms of quality. Like, obviously Xenoblade is still going to be the favourite because it's the staple for me, but like, in terms of just how good the game is, I don't know, man, this might... everything about it is so good that it's like, I don't know. From a more objective standpoint, I think it's possibly unmatched as an RPG. So, we'll see. We'll see how my thoughts change.
Yeah, and you know what? Speaking of, unmatched peak of RPGs, we have to bring up Persona 5, of course, because that's what I beat this month. I actually beat Persona 5 Royal. And, I gave all my general thoughts of the gameplay in that last month, so check those out there. But this time I want to sort of talk a bit more on the ending, and you know what, I am just going to go full spoilers. We're at the end of the podcast,
sure.
So if you don't want to hear spoilers, this is the last bit, so you can end it here, or you can, skip ahead just to watch the outro if you want. Outro's always fun. But, let's get started on my... So, Persona 5, full spoilers here, but the ending, it was good. Like, it remained a great game. Everything I loved about it, I said before, stayed consistently throughout, and I just had a great time with it. It was weird, the ending of the base game, and I do think one criticism I have is pacing towards the end, where the way it transitions into Royal is so weird, because it just sort of just happens naturally.
Yeah.
There's no, like, cut-off. And it makes, like, you've beat God or whatever, you've done the big ending, and everything's beaten, but it isn't, and then some weird small thing starts off, and it kills the pacing a little bit, and it did leave me a bit, like, confused going into Royal, and wasn't enjoying it as much, but once it gets going, everything Royal adds with Maruki, he's such an interesting villain, because he's not a villain, because he's kind of right, and that's what makes it a compelling fight. Everything
it's very
to do
interesting,
with,
isn't it? He's really cool.
It is. And especially compared to even the base game. I thought the base game ending was just okay. Because there are lots of cool elements to it. I loved, taking down... You build up Shido as this big villain. And then at the end you're like, okay, it's an RPG, so I guess we've got to fight God. And it just kind of becomes a bit more of a generic RPG in the ending of Persona 5.
Mishima saves the day. Let's just... let's get that out of the way.
Okay, that's true. Points for Mishima. But, and I liked a lot of the twists they did with, like, the Velvet Room and all that kind of stuff. It was a lot of cool bits there, and I still enjoyed it. but it kind of felt like a generic ending of fight generic entity rather than this villain you've been building up to. Which is why I thought adding Maruki as this more personal thing, complete opposite of, fight evil, nameless god thing, that was really compelling. And everything to do with like the build up to like ascending up the sort of his paradise, the final confrontation with him where the music kicks in and the vocal version of it kicks in, and you get to finish him off with like the little one-off fight between just Joker and Maruki punching each other out. Like, everything about it was just perfect. One of the most compelling antagonists in a game I played recently, so it just kind of I'm glad it ended on a big high. Except for the fact that after you've beaten that, you then spend like 2 hours doing menial things like meeting up for Valentine's Day and buying chocolates, and that also kills the pacing. Where I thought the actual ending of the game itself was kind of lost when it made you do loads of menial shit for an hour after you beat the final boss. I think that was just too much. So that did draw it out a little bit, and by the end I was like, oh, now it's over, okay. But the actual final confrontation and everything, it was peak. And I mean, what a game. And not to, be too disparaging to Rebirth or to get ahead of where you are at, but that's the comparison where by the end of that game I was burning out on everything. I was 100 hours in and it felt too much.
Yeah.
Whereas in this game, it took me 130 hours to beat everything, thereabouts. And I wasn't, it was the right amount because it made every moment matter. So, it's a masterpiece for a reason. Like, obviously it's become a meme, everyone praising Persona 5 as the gold standard. But, like, it's a good game, so I get it.
Yeah.
And,
it does everything again, doesn't it? It's kind of that one of those RPGs that just covers everything, and it is really long as a result, but it manages to keep itself held up right. So, when it can do everything right, having a good story and gameplay and everything at the same time, like there's another ace on your hands, isn't it? It's another ace.
Exactly.
So it's really good. Yeah, I think it's interesting about how the game ends, especially in Royal, because I've seen a big thing on Twitter lately, dangerously. And it's the kind of idea where it's and I don't really have an opinion on this, but it's the argument that good games shouldn't end immediately after the final climax. There should be like a wind down period afterwards, and then the game ends. And I've seen the comparisons of sort of Xenoblade 3 kind of does that without spoilers and stuff like that. And I almost think you can definitely apply that to Persona 5, where the original ending, you have the big climax against Yaldabaoth or whatever, and then the game ends. Whereas adding Royal in, it gives you sort of another extra story that is a bit of a climax as well, of course, but it doesn't. I don't feel like the stakes feel as high necessarily, or it's not like the whole game's been building up to it.
Coming off it, yeah. It's a weird detour.
It's a weird one, isn't it? It's very weirdly implemented, and I think outside of the menial stuff that they make you do at that part of the game, I think in terms of the actual plot side of things, it's as weird as it is, I do think it's a really good story. So it's a good addition.
It's weird where I think it actually works better Royal works better if you've played Persona 5 first. Because coming off of it, immediately I don't know what's different and what's new. So you end it and the whole thing with Akechi's had his sacrifice and then suddenly he's back, right? And that's odd. I'm like, well, that's weird. And I didn't know that wasn't in the original. And it took me it took me a bit to realise, obviously, this is some ideal fantasy world where things are changing. I think if you've played the original Persona 5, you notice that immediately, this is different. Like, oh shit, things are happening differently, You've already accepted the base game ending, you've experienced it, and then you really twig on the things that are abnormal. Whereas for me, it took me an hour to realise that I was in Royal content, not base game content, because it's such a weird transition between them. So I think it actually works a lot better having played Persona 5 first. Not that I would ever recommend someone play the entirety of the original game first to then play Royal, because who has the time for that? But I do think I would have experienced it better had I played Persona 5 when it came out, and then played Royal when it came out and experienced those changes. I think the weird pacing would not be a problem if that was the case. It's just as its own original story for someone who it is completely original to, that makes it feel really odd. But once it's built into this new story and you find out what's happening with, Kasumi or Sumire and Miruki and that, then it gets going and it's great. So, I like it. It was, it's easy for a game like this to, like, not live up to the lofty expectations people put on it. But no, it was fantastic. And it's, like, up there with my favourite games of all time. It's a contender, So,
it's very solid. It's incredibly, because like I say, it just does everything. Again, it's one of those ones you can't really complain too much about it. But now you join the ranks of people waiting for Persona 6, where you're going to be like, oh my god, are they going to announce it this time? No, that's like another just remake or dancing game.
I've still got Strikers to play, I'm looking forward to trying that one out.
True, I actually have no knowledge on Strikers, so that'll be interesting to hear about.
No Xenoblade Warriors for now, but Strikers is a Warriors game, that'll do. And, Metaphor, the next game developed by the team, which is apparently very Persona-like, is just coming out. So there's stuff if I feel the craving. But it's a dedication, like, with starting one of these games, you need to set aside your time. And I'm enjoying having a break for smaller games now.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Now you're just forever, every time something surprises you, there'll be a phrase ringing in your head. For real? Just every time. It will never leave.
Every time.
Yeah, you can't hear that word differently now.
Both a blessing and a curse. But that is about it, I think. That's about it for this month's podcast. So thank you so much everyone for listening to our thoughts here. If you stuck with it, or if you skipped ahead to the outro just because you wanted to avoid spoilers, I respect that. The outro is the best part, right? So we will of course thank you, Kai, for talking through this with me once again. And where else can people find your content at?
Twitch.tv/Fascurreyn. I'm playing through Ni no Kuni 2. We'll give our thoughts on that, I don't know, a month or two. We'll see.
Yeah. There'll be a link in the description, of course, to Kai's Twitch channel. Go check it out. And, of course, a link to our friend Samm, our graphic designer who makes the thumbnail, the logos. All of that is his work, so begrudgingly, thank you, Samm. And stay tuned here to BunchaJokahs on YouTube or audio-only versions on podcasting sites like Spotify, etc. for monthly podcasts and other random videos as well. We might even get to record Try and Freeze soon. It's coming. It's coming eventually.
One day.
But until then, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care and goodbye.
See ya.